Ladies and gentlemen of YouTube, Transformers fans everywhere, welcome back. LPS, Last Prime Speculator, here to bring you another speculation as always. Today's speculation is focused on part 2 of this series I'm doing. The Apocalypse series I'm calling it, I guess. This one is Lockdown and Quintessa. You heard it right. Lockdown, the bounty hunter from Transformers Age of Extinction, and Quintessa, the mysterious sorceress from Transformers The Last Knight. I'm going to base these off of comics. I might have stumbled under something, and I figured it was big enough for me to make a video and a speculation about, pretty much get this series going of the Apocalypse series. So I'm going to base this off of these Titan movie comics and basically give you a couple of speculations of what the connection could be between Lockdown and Quintessa and where this future live action of the Transformers lore is going. Let's get right to it. So before we start about this, we're going to learn about Lockdown. Who is Lockdown? Lockdown. Even the Decepticons are afraid of this guy, because once Lockdown has been hired to track down a subject, nothing stops him from completing his transactions. Sort of total devastation. Answering only to his gods, the creators. Lockdown holds himself higher than the Autobots and Decepticons. War and sees both sides as children. He looks down upon them and doesn't think much of higher and other civilized species across the galaxy, particularly the humans. Lockdown was tasked by the mysterious creators to capture all the rogue knights. He spent centuries on the task, using a commandeered and converted ship that once belonged to the legendary knights themselves as a mobile prison for containing and transporting his various captives and creations. Eventually, he succeeded in capturing all of the knights, except one in particular, the last Prime, Optimus Prime. To acquire the last Prime, Lockdown traveled to Earth and joined forces with the human organization known as the Cemetery Wind, who were in the process of hunting and killing any surviving Cybertronians who had survived the Battle of Chicago and running loose around the world. In exchange for the safe return of the last Prime, he promised Harold Allinger a seed, a device that could transform a cyberform massive area into the actual living organism known, as the humans will call it, as Transformium. Lockdown is a bounty hunter at heart. He always fulfills his contracts and the missions he is assigned to as long as he's paid in full. He doesn't really care how he has to do it in order to fulfill his contract. He will even destroy civilizations, planets, or light billions if necessary. In respect to other species, it is none too greater than himself. Sometimes even mumbling under his clients, speaking to him sarcastically as he looks down upon them. These days, a long scar runs down his face. There are many rumors about where the scar came from, but nobody knows for sure exactly what or where. Now, we're going to talk about the Lockdown and the Titan movie comics. I'm going to use this off of the Adrift in Space, Inside Out, and Locked In, the 3 Titan movie comics, just to give you guys an idea if you guys want to check it out for yourselves and everything. Otherwise, let's get right to it. I'm basically kind of going to break these down, these 3 comics, just because I want to keep the movie kind of short for you guys and everything. So it's basically in order, you know, a little bit here and there tweaked about, but basically in order. But you'll get the point. I'll connect at the end, okay? 5 years before Dark of the Moon, Lockdown was part of a 3-team Decepticon force where he was actually with Drift, Knucklehead, and himself on Cybertron. This is basically during, they were Decepticons, they were bounty hunters on the side, okay? They had a bounty to take out an Autobot outpost, and this was orders directly from Megatron with minimum bloodshed. Megatron basically gave him 3 orders to gain intel information and basically locate an artifact and also missing Transformers across the galaxy. So he wanted basically for them to locate a certain Transformer or a couple of certain Transformers and artifacts. Gain intelligence and get the hell out. Sounds similar to the kind of Sentinel in the Dark of the Moon, right? Lockdown was going to take prisoner and was planning on basically killing everyone, okay? Drift from the Autobot now that we know is Drift, and Knucklehead were anti this. They were very, very committed to their orders, okay? They stuck by their orders, they stuck by the codes, and Megatron gave them orders, do not kill anybody, get the intel, and get the F out. That's pretty much what the orders are. Lockdown, obviously, we know, is extremely ruthless. So, being that when they broke into this Autobot stronghold, obviously Lockdown had no intentions of following orders. He wanted blood, and he was planning on destroying and killing everything. And he wanted to also gain that intel, figure out what the Transformer and all the artifacts does. We don't know if it's for his personal use, but he basically had every intention of killing anything that came in his way. Obviously, Drift stopped him and prevented Lockdown from doing so. Lockdown would report back as Drift as a traitor, and also as Knucklehead as a traitor. Being Drift and Knucklehead were very close. And that was basically the start of where Drift decided that this was probably not the business for him, right? Now, Lockdown thought it would be best that for him to basically hold this burden inside. He reported it back to Megatron, and he labeled them as traitors. And obviously, Megatron did the same thing. He labeled them as traitors. Basically, you're siding with the Autobots in a way. He was pleased that they followed orders, but at the end of the day, if you have a chance to kill an Autobot, Megatron shows no mercy as well. So this would lead to Drift becoming an Autobot. Now, at this time, Megatron gave him the orders. You let them go, let them do their thing, because at the end of the day, the Autobots won't accept them either. They know they're Decepticons, and maybe they'll just get killed doing them by themselves. Let them die, you know what I'm saying? Megatron, at the end of the day, had his own purposes, and it was to get this artifact and information, okay? Now, Lockdown, deep down, swore to seek revenge on Drift and Knucklehead. Now, being that Lockdown would basically respect the orders of Megatron at this time, remember, he was a bounty hunter pre-Chicago. This is what this Titan comics are. This is pre the Chicago battle, okay? And he would also continue to do solo missions also behind Megatron's back, because at the end of the day, he's a bounty hunter at heart, and it's all about that money and Lockdown's personal opinion, right? An actual bounty hunter, at the end of the day, reports no one, and it's all about that money, and they are their own boss in a way. But he was still a Decepticon at this time. Now, Lockdown being a Decepticon, Lockdown had his profitable side business, and he was a hired bounty hunter. And he took this bounty from origin unknown, but this bounty was come as the Coseem Crime Gang. He was labeled to kill the boss of the Coseem game and kill him at all costs, the leader of this particular gang, okay? He took the bounty, right? Now, after the Battle of Chicago, Lockdown basically took control of the Decepticon forces after finding out what happened in Dark of the Moon. So now we are currently at Dark of the Moon. We know what happened. It's the Sam Wiki one. If you haven't seen it, it's Dark of the Moon, the third Transformer, the Battle of Chicago. Megatron is dead. His boss and his leader is now currently dead. So at this time, Lockdown, being the ranking officer through these comics, is technically the highest ranked Decepticon. Starscream's dead. The list goes on. Everybody died in that Battle of Chicago. So after the Battle of Chicago, Lockdown would take control and basically lead the Decepticon forces in hiding. He was like a secret boss in a way, okay? Now, here's where it kind of got interesting. This is where the knowledge of Lockdown dying, being disappeared, maybe fighting through the Cybertronian battle of Chicago, he never died. Drift actually uncovered Knucklehead's body and corpse on the moon. But the way Knucklehead was dead, Drift realized that Lockdown was more powerful than prior. Basically, he upgraded a body through one of his bounties and became stronger, okay? This was not the same Lockdown that he partnered with when he was a Decepticon. And in one particular bounty, he oversaw an ambush in Indonesia with 3 Decepticons that would kill hundreds of humans. Now, this would actually be the cause in the first start of the rules have changed in Age of Extinction. The Transformers were at war because basically this was the breaking point. These Decepticons that Lockdown led, these 3 Decepticons, slaughtered all of these humans, hundreds of them, and I think it actually was thousands. And this was basically when Transformers were declared in a way illegal because they were all a threat. They couldn't tell which ones were which, and who would blame them after the Battle of Chicago, right? Now, after it was the start, the rules had changed. The Transformers were now listed as evil. The humans had to basically declare that the Transformers, they weren't safe. And this was all because of Lockdown's own personal building. In a way, I took it from his comics as he had a plan to create this war between humans and Transformers. Hold that thought. Now, once this raid was done, Crosshairs would end up reporting and showing up as aid and was talking to somebody. And basically, Lockdown did find out that there were still Autobots on Earth. They were still fighting for the humans, and somebody was leading the Autobots. Now, once this whole little raid in Indonesia was finished, he would sneak off out of Earth and get out of the solar system. Somehow, probably being able to use Cybertronic technology, they weren't able to track him. and basically was going to seek out more bounties, get more cash, do what he does, and then probably just do his own thing, right? Well, once he got up into space, he realized one of the capturings he had named Sojex, or Sojex, S-O-J-E-X. She's a female, and she is a Coseem hit woman who took control over the ship and used this ship to take control, basically to kill Lockdown for killing the leader at the time. Remember what we talked about, that he took that bounty from the Coseem game and killed the leader? Well, this is one of his warriors, in a way, one of her personal hitmen. She purposely got captured because this was part of the plan. Her name, again, is Sojex, S-O-J-E-X. Let's learn about Sojex. Sojex, in many Transformers continuities, in addition to the humans and Cybertronians, they are both organic aliens and robotic aliens. Many of the organic ones look very human, an awful lot like robotic ones, and have the ability to transform just like Cybertronians. The exact to which these similarities are coincidence varies from species to species. She is said to be compared to as the Volk. If you're not familiar with the Volk is a mysterious energy-based alien creations who develop prehistoric Earth times towards their own designs. They can create their own Cybertronian form. The Volk are dedicated to as the protectors, the guardians of the one, in a way. We learned about the Guardians and Knights, kind of similar, right? Now, which consists of creating plans for their planets and even creations around the universe. As a result of these experiments, there are a number of these located around the Earth and galaxies, including several floating landmasses and mysterious stone formations, a golden disk, a hollowed out moon, or even plot devices as creations. Very similar. The Volk are connected to the One, which are created Primus and Unicron. So this is where it gets interesting. Let's learn about Lockdown and Soljex's story through this comic. As Lockdown gloated to his prisoners, Sojex escaped to her cell and took control of the entire night ship. She revealed that she intended to be captured on purpose so that she could exact revenge for Lockdown, claiming the bounty on the Coseem Crime Gang leader, which was her boss. She invited the mercenary to confront her in the ship alone, and Lockdown had his troops stand down so that he could face her alone. When Lockdown burst the control room, Sojex pulled out a gun on Lockdown, but he dodged it and hit a button, electrocuted the command chair, and knocking Sojex unconscious. She was locked into a prison pod and locked back in, only to reveal that Lockdown had used the control room and used a holographic system still synced in within the ship to manipulate the CCTV. Sojex watched a fake Lockdown whistle through and dealt with the scrap leaks using Earth's liquid. The mercenary promptly locked Sojex into a prison pod and lodged her deep within the cosmetic universe of space, who he would come to find out was not pleased with her failures. So she made it back to wherever she was going. Whoever she's working for now is not happy. Sometime later, Lockdown reviews a transmission from a mysterious, ancient, and evil individuals. They were not happy with Lockdown's finding of Sojex and was even more displeased Sojex was not dead and may have contacted with something even greater than themselves. This ancient individual let Lockdown know he could redeem himself and that he would have a new job and work directly for them, and this job was required on Earth. This is where Lockdown would learn the term, quote, "We all work for someone." Yes, very deep and very interesting. Now this is where we're going to speculate, guys. I'm going to give you a couple of speculations throughout all this because now I'm convinced that Sojex is actually Quintessa of the live-action universe. And she is this new lore. Spoiler alert right here, we know she's not dead. We know she could take humans. Remember that thought. Let's start speculating, guys. So this is where I'm getting at. Sojex is actually Quintessa, and Lockdown captured her in this live-action universe. So Lockdown actually captured Quintessa, right? Probably one of his trophies in that ship. We know there were a ton of prisoners in this ship, correct? But here's where it gets interesting. Sojex wanted to be captured. She wanted to be captured. Same thing. Quintessa could have wanted to be captured on purpose because Lockdown used this night ship to travel through the galaxies, right? She could create knowledge for herself. The scar on Lockdown's face has always been the biggest mystery. When I heard that, I instantly thought of the red paint, the scar on Optimus Prime's face and Megatron. The scar is unknown. There's rumors, I believe it was Megatron possibly with Lockdown, but Lockdown has a scar on the same side as Optimus Prime. The difference is this one is red. Quintessa could have become more powerful once she met this higher being, which what the creators were pissed off about. But that's where that actual scar that Lockdown has could have come from. That could be a connection itself too, right? I've also always thought that if Lockdown is connected to the creators, I've always thought Cogman was as well. If you look at Cogman, he's got similar features. Now, we know that there is obviously differences. The main thing is the gold body, the gold armor. The facial features are very human. The forehead is very similar. Even the side jaw is very similar. But the gold itself is very, very important to me. I don't know what it is about gold, but gold is connected usually to royalty and a higher being purpose. I thought that was interesting. And like I said, I've always thought Cogman could have been part of the pre-Transformer race, possibly maybe even the creators. Now, the creators wanted to sweep their chess boards clean. When Lockdown told Optimus that when he captured Optimus, it could have been a ton of things. It could have been swipe their chessboards clean because maybe killing Quintessa was a huge deal. Maybe they did not want Quintessa to find Optimus Prime. The Iacon, in my last video, I'm not going to touch too much on it, make sure you check it out, is an historical document of history, in my opinion, of the Transformers living race. That, in my opinion, is the important artifact of the escape treasure of Cybertron. The staff was kind of a powerful weapon that Quintessa said that she used to rebuild Optimus Prime's planet, not her own. And after Megatron flew away with the staff, nobody chased it after, the Dragonstorm, the Knights, all of them that combined in Dragonstorm, did not go after Megatron. I think that's very, very important that they stayed back and beat the hell out of a Prime. I don't think the staff is that important, right? Now, here's where everything is tied in. Quintessa knows the secrets of the creators in creating the Autobots and Decepticons. So she could have inherited this knowledge as a prisoner. Remember, she was captured willingly to inherit the knowledge of these beings, of these Cybertronian beings, to use for her own evil biddings and claim herself as the creator. We know she's very powerful. She told Optimus that she was his maker. I really don't think Optimus made it. I think she was able to manipulate his voice box when he was sending the signal and bring him back to Cybertron. We can go in the debate again about that actually not being Cybertron, but we're going to focus on Quintessa. Now, once Quintessa learned about these secrets, she would use Optimus to get her staff, which we know that was the main purpose of her goal, was to get this staff. Now, not only that, Quintessa being a prisoner possibly on this nice ship, aka Sojex, but we'll say it's Quintessa, she learned of the history of this ship. Lockdown told Optimus that the Knight ship was the former ship of him and these Knights would use these ships to travel around the galaxies and basically spread the word of peace. They were great crusaders, basically probably exploring life, maybe looking for energon. They were crusaders. They would basically travel the galaxies in this ship, which is now called the Autobot ship. But in the fourth one, it was called Lockdown ship. So she learned the origins of the Knight ship, which would also mean that she learned of the origins of the Knights themselves. She could have inherited that knowledge to learn about the Guardian Knights, the Knights of Iacon, the Knights of Cybertron, whatever the hell you want to call them. That she was able to inherit this knowledge for her own personal biddings. Now let's even think about it this deep. Let's think about this. If she's in prison there, and if you watch like jail shows and all that stuff, basically you can find ways of ways to communicate with each other. Whether if it's, you know, sliding a paper under the cell, whatever. You see it all in the TV. They communicate in the prison cell, and the prisoners always hate the guards, right? Lockdown's the guard. She could have also befriended the Knights, the ones that basically combine into Dragonstorm, Steelbane, Dragoness, all of them, to use for her own bidding at a time. Basically, maybe getting a document of her own to use to, if she ever gets free and does her bidding to kill Lockdown, she could use the Knights as her own personal bidding herself to create herself as God in a way, right? Now, while in prison, this would also help in her behalf because she could also future organize plans. Lockdown traveled all these galaxies, and she could also learn of all of living civilizations across the galaxies. Lockdown traveled all these galaxies, and it took him centuries to capture all the Knights. But she also could have learned through this journey with Lockdown being a prisoner that Optimus Prime was the most important one and gained the knowledge through them. She could have also been picking the brains of Lockdown using some, telepathic thing to read their minds. We don't know. We still don't know a lot about Quintessa. But she wanted Optimus themselves. And maybe she found out through this that the creators wanted Optimus and he is that important. And wow, you hear the words of a Prime. If the makers, creators that Lockdown's working for is after a Prime, why not get it for yourselves? Now, this is where I'm going to throw my biggest speculation out there. Because spoiler alert here, when Quintessa, at the very end, Bumblebee shot Quintessa, she disappeared. At the very end, she became a human at the very end of this, right? And she basically was with another human and showed her human form. So she went from that Cybertronian look to the human form. Again, Lockdown had very similar human forms. I don't know if it's a Michael Bay thing, but we're going to say Quintessa actually can turn into a human. And this is going to be a huge speculation. And this is where I'm going for my next one for part 3. Okay, we're getting it closer to the creators. Now, when the creators came down to Earth, they dropped seeds all over the planet, which I'm assuming they used Space Bridge to travel with all these basic, maybe taking slaves, taking Energon. But on Earth, they wiped out the dinosaurs and started, in my opinion, building their factory of the Transformers. They were literally creating these Transformers, and I think Optimus Prime even quoted in Age of Extinction. They came to Earth and used Transformers to wipe down your planet to create us. Now, what if the creators came down to Earth and they wiped down all the dinosaurs and they used this seed to destroy everything? Let's get creative here. What if, when Lockdown refers to the creators want to sweep their chessboard clean, what if that includes Quintessa? Hear me out. What if Quintessa was actually the first human born on Earth during the time of Earth, okay? This is a movie. This is a live-action universe. They can do whatever the hell they want, right? We don't know. Some people think that there's religions and everything. Let's knock out the religion factor and all that. Let's be open-minded. We know in Age of Extinction, the dinosaurs were there first. But we know in Revenge of the Fallen that the humans and the Fallen, a.k.a. Megatronus, came to Earth, and the Primes were here to basically use sun harvests to create suns, I'm assuming to use for energy, or energon. But the rule is no life. In Transformers Prime, I'm pretty sure Optimus Prime said that Unicron is in Earth in Transformers Prime. If you haven't checked it, check it out. It's a great series. That the humans, in a way, were created off of his core, his spark, in a way, okay? That what if when the creators came down and dropped the seeds down, that maybe there was 2 humans, for instance, Quintessa and maybe a male. Maybe the male died, but somehow Quintessa got infected with this radiation from this seed, and that is how she is able to become what I call a pretender. She could transform into a human or a Cybertronian. Even her Cybertronian form is very human-like, but she can turn into a human. What if when the creators came down, they're not just talking about white, but their chessboard clean for the Transformers. They're literally talking about they know the humans were here as well, and maybe Quintessa got infected from the radiation possibly of a seed or touched it. We still don't know what the seed is capable of. All I'm saying is that this seed might have been here when the creators came down in Age of Extinction at the beginning, that Quintessa literally could have been maybe the first human created and a female created, or she could have been infected by the seed herself. That would be enough for the creators to wipe their chessboard clean. Also, it would also back down with Lockdown's theory about this. The creators don't like the species mixing other species. They were built to do what you were told. Maybe in a way that involves Quintessa too. Lockdown now is working for the creators. He's got similar features with the scar, the gold with the cogman. That this is involving the human history as well, where basically they not only want to wipe their history, what they did, they wipe the history. I'm also referring to these as the Quintessons. That the Quintessons came down to Earth, and basically when they took over Cybertron at the time, they wiped the history of the Transformers off on Earth. They kept the Knights of Cybertron prisoners and made them do their own wicked deeds, but wiped out the beast the Beast era pretty much, but I'm assuming they kept Grimlock and the Dinobots and all them because they were legendary warriors. They could be used for something of their own evil, wicked purpose at the time. But literally, they were part of this wrongdoing of creation. Now, the creators wanted to wipe their chessboards clean and ease the history of the Transformers also so they could erase their history possibly of a hybrid race. Plus, what if it's not only this? What if, after the Battle of 13, the 13 Primes, Unicron and Primus, Unicron's parts got scattered across the galaxies, and maybe his head landed on Earth. And the Quintessons did not know that. Remember, they said they keep coming. Mark Wahlberg says they keep falling from the sky and they don't know why. Maybe the Quintessons came and basically used the seed as well to drop the Transformium, or the you know what I'm talking about, the stuff from the seed on Earth, and that actually made Unicron stronger in a way. So this literally could be the head of Unicron in Earth, which would explain like the 6 horns could be his crown. It also could be the planet part of the actual planet from Unicron. You know, the front part of his, like, where he eats all when he becomes a planet. It could actually be that, where literally maybe Quintessa was the first human created when Unicron came to Earth, his body part after the war. And the Transformium was able to actually make his head, create a form, and he used it all. And that's why there literally is no more Transformium on Earth. It's because Unicron sucked it all in. And his first creation from Transformers Prime, for instance, was actually Quintessa. So maybe there's also a male out there that's missing too. But Quintessa could literally be created from Unicron as well as the creators of the seed. And now she is a pretender as well, and extremely, extremely powerful. And like Sir Edward Burton says, they have been here forever. So there you guys go. I hope you enjoyed that speculation. I'm going to do part 3. We're going to focus on the creators next time. Make sure to check out the first one, the Knights of Iacon. If you're into Transformers lore, we dig deep in the lore of Transformers. This is the Transformers community. We're a very tight pond. We're growing fast, guys. We're getting bigger. We're almost at 2,000 subscribers. Make sure to hit that like button. Subscribe to this channel. If you're interested in Transformers, we do Transformers education. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at Prime Speculator. Follow my Instagram account at Last Prime Speculator. And make sure to check out the new Facebook page of Prime Speculator. We can also communicate on there. I'm going to leave all the links in the bottom. Make sure to check all that stuff. It's also in the front of my YouTube channel. Again, make sure to subscribe to this channel, guys. Let's get to 2,000 subscribers. To my subscribers, again, I love you guys so much. Thank you for being so supportive. I love this community. This community is because of you guys, man. At the end of the day, it's called YouTube. It's your community. I'm just the face of the franchise, and I'm very grateful that you guys are a part of it. So, LPS, Last Prime Speculator, peace.